This may seem like Captain Obvious here, but it seems like in the last 2 years, for example, when you had the good year, you had, I think it was 10 winning streaks of 3 games or more and 4 losing streaks of, 4 losing streaks, of 3 games or more. And it was like the complete flip of that last year. Now, you've been coaching long enough, you must have come up with some theories on all of this, and the one obviously we've been looking at today is how the hell do you get out of losing streaks? Can you give a dissertation?
Well, yeah. I'm just thinking about your question here. There's a lot in it. First of all, we, when we looked at where we're at right now, and we go back to last year, we were in a lot worse position than we were this year. Prior to that, the year before that, we got off to a good start, but we worked our way back to 500 because we had some ups and downs. And like every other team, we'll go through that. But it has nothing to do with those 2 years. I address it because you talked about the past. It has to do with this year's group. And this year's group, we had a good meeting today. We worked on some things in practice. And for us to get out of it, it is much a mental decision to play the game with the right amount of risk at certain times, better game management, obviously bringing it to begin with, and we talked about those things. So we packaged up this year's team and talked about that. We didn't start well, but we got to work, and it began in Boston. Then it went to New York from there. We found a lucky game, I would call a lucky game in Winnipeg, because we weren't very good to start with, but we worked our way through it. And all of our wins, except for the one outlier in Winnipeg, we've given up 3 or fewer goals. So there is a common theme to that. All of our losses were over 3 or over. And I'm not just talking about the Edmonton Oilers, I'm talking about the NHL. That's how it works. And I think right now we're chasing mistakes, and we're hoping that we're going to get to 4 or 5 or 6 a night. And it doesn't happen on a regular basis. We proved it with our own wins. So understanding that offense comes when it's presented and you work to it and you try and create it. But you've got to manage the risk part is really important for our team right now. Like we meet with the staff, and one of the assistant coaches said, can we win a game 1-0 right now? And, that's something we have to have that mentality of. It doesn't mean we're trying to take away their scoring, their creativity, anything like that. But we've got to manage risk a little bit better, and we got to understand that every play has an impact on the game. As little as it may feel like when you're on the ice, but every play has an impact on the game.
Todd, Logan Couture talked about how they have like a shooting club in San Jose, and so he's dated that way back to, I think, like 2010. Was that the players who initiate that? Is it the encouragement of a coach? And I ask that because Milan Lucic just talking about he's got, 2 goals in 63 games in the calendar year, and the longest funk of his career, and he can't get out of it. Do the players have to take that onus and shoot? As a coach, do you encourage those type of things? How did that come about, and how do you get one of those here?
We encourage it, and we've had it here. We have it here. Jay Woodcroft was a big part of that. He created that skills work that players can participate in, and it just grew, and it ended up being called the shooting club. And you see it often before in pregame skates, raps and jams, plays in different areas. You'll see it post-practice. It's not a put it up at 10:15 in the morning club. Hey, these guys got to report to it. It's something that evolves, and players understand some of the things they need to work on. They have to be led to other things, but it exists, and a lot of times that occurs prior to or after practice.
Do you see anything in Milan that you'd encourage him to want to do as far as to try to, because it can't just be, keep getting the chances. If it's not happened for 63 games, you got to try something different.
Well, we're talking about Milan scoring, and obviously he wants to score, and we need him to. But what I can tell you about Luch this year compared to last year is that he's worked as hard as anybody on our team. Not that he didn't work hard last year. He practices as hard as anybody does. He's working on his game. He's got a bit of frustration in there right now. You saw it today in practice, but I would tend to venture that didn't come from lack of scoring. That probably came from a shot off the kneecap on the power play, which nobody's happy with. So he has worked. He's improved his play. He's become more physical. He's policed. He's done a lot of the things we've asked him to. He just hasn't been able to be as productive offensively as he would like and everybody else would like. But as long as he keeps doing those other things and contributing, eventually it will go. Made a nice play on the goal last night. A nice slide pass to the D-man, created space for him. So it's there and it'll come.
Todd, with McDavid and Draisaitl skating together and potentially playing together here, Connor was mentioning how quite often the offense is there for them, but sometimes they can start to cheat a little bit defensively. How important is that if those two are going to be together, that they not be a line that gives up and that they take care of the D side as well?
Well, I think the answer to that question's pretty obvious. It would be important. They play 22, 23 minutes a night, and they have to outscore their opponent, but they also have to outcheck their opponent. And, that goes for any team's top players. Anybody that's playing those amount of minutes have to be as responsible defensively as they are offensively. And both of those players have done a real good job of it. We expect them to continue to do that.
Todd, sort of on that same theme about the scoring and trying to find a spark for guys to score more. I mean, you have a lot of guys on lines 3 and 4 who have 0 or 1 goals on the season. I know the fourth line had a lot of zone time yesterday, but they can't just always check. At some point, they got to contribute a little bit too. What sparks them to hit the score sheet a little more? What do you need? Who needs to step up?
Well, the desire is there. I thought that the Brodziak line lately, they've had, out of the last 4 or 5 games that we've lost 4 of them, they've been a pretty darn good line. Got scored on a little bit in Washington, it cost us, but they're not perfect. They don't make mistakes, but they created as many scoring chances as any other line we had last night. So that's a real positive. We talked about that after the game. They continue to do that. It'll go in the net for them. The other group is the Strome line, and that's where we have to fix things more than anything. They have to, find ways to actively create first and then score secondly. And right now, that's not happening enough. So we'll have to work with that group.